Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is a video session number 3 if you missed it or if you just need to review a little bit. And I'm going to share my screen with you right now here. And I hope you can see that okay. First thing that we study in lesson 3 is adjective agreement. Now, that's something that doesn't happen in English, but it happens every time you use an adjective. In Spanish, you have to make it agree. Now, remember that most nouns that end in A are feminine. Uh, it's almost meaningless. It's just a way of looking at life in Spanish. And most nouns that end in O are masculine in Spanish. And if you take a look at this, I'm showing you that adjectives agree with the noun they describe. That's gender and number. So we say Elena now Elena is a woman, obviously, and this is an A. And so that makes sense. So it's Elena es alta y Roberto es alto también. He's also tall, right? Elena. Now, if we talk about them both, there's a mixed group and it was plural. There's more than one, so we have to add an S, and we use the masculine plural form of the adjective to describe a mixed group like that. So Elena y Roberto son altos. Note above that if there is a mixed group, both masculine and feminine components, we use the masculine plural form for the adjective, right? Now, adjectives that end in an E do not change, but they do add an S to the plural forms, like this. Mi casa no es grande. My house is not big. Now I talk about some houses. Las casas de Beverly Hills son muy grandes. It's still grande, but I put an S at the end because casas is plural, and this needs to be plural too because it's describing casas. Now, for adjectives that end in a consonant, we generally add ES to make the plural forms, okay? So here's an example. El examen de biología es difícil. Los exámenes de matemáticas son difíciles. Notice that we added an ES right here to make it plural. So the difíciles goes with exámenes, and that's how you make an adjective plural if it ends in a consonant, generally. The one little exception to that, kind of an important one, I guess, adjectives of nationality that end in a consonant follow different rules. Now, if they don't end in a consonant, it's usually something like Mexicano, Argentino, Italiano. Those just follow regular agreement rules. But for a word like el alemán, this would mean basically the German man, right? El alemán, because alemán is our base word that means German. If we make a masculine singular adjective of nationality plural, we do this. We add an ES, los alemanes. If it's a singular feminine adjective of nationality that ends in a consonant, we add an A to it. We have to add an A. La alemana and las alemanas. We made it plural, okay? So there's your basic rules. There's more things than that. There's exceptions. But in general, that's pretty much what you need to know about adjective agreement in Spanish, okay? Let's move on. Possessive adjectives are how we say my, your, his, her, our, and their. And the way we do that in Spanish, because possessive adjectives are adjectives, they still agree, right? No matter what. There's two ways to say my, either me or me. So I'll talk about why that is in just a moment, okay? To say your, if you're talking to a friend or somebody your own age, we say tu or tus, right? His or her would be su or sus. Your formal, that's the usted form, is always the same as he, she, his, her. It's going to be su, sus. This is the one that gets a little more complicated. When we say our, nuestro, nuestros for masculine things, nuestra and nuestras for feminine things, okay? Then we're back to su and sus. Notice there are 4 different sets of this su, sus, and that can get a little confusing sometimes, but you'll figure it out as you go through this. You just get better at recognizing what they might mean, okay? Now, let's take a look at this. Note that these adjectives agree with the objects they are describing, not the people that have the objects. And I'll give you a perfect example right here. Ella, that's a single woman, right? Ella habla con sus amigos. Now she's talking with all her friends. She is one woman, but she's got many friends, several friends at least. So we say sus. So here is your general, basic, easy to remember rule. Whenever you use a possessive adjective, one of these words, whichever one it is, it doesn't matter. It's going to agree without exception to the word that directly follows it every time, without exceptions. Okay. So even though she is one person and she's talking with several friends, we don't make this Sue because she's one woman. We make it Sus because she has many friends. That's just how it works in Spanish. Okay. Here's another example. Juan y yo. Now, I, as a guy, am saying that's two men talking. Juan y yo. Tenemos, but we only have one computer. Maybe we share a computer, right? So we say nuestra computadora. So Juan and I are plural, but we own one computer, and that computer is feminine. So nuestro here becomes nuestra here to agree with computadora. One more example, because I know this is a little confusing. I'm probably talking to two parents at a party when I say this. Ustedes bailan con su hija. You guys, you two, dance with your one daughter. Now, you two are two people, obviously, two parents, right? But they are dancing with their one daughter. And this doesn't reflect gender, but it does. It has got to be singular because it's only one daughter. You, plural, are dancing with your one daughter. Okay, I know that's kind of fast. I would suggest pausing this thing, just taking a look at this, going over the examples a couple times. I think it'll really help you understand it a little bit better. Let's move down one more here. We're also learning ER and IR verbs, and I'm not giving a huge explanation of this because the idea of conjugating ER and IR verbs is just like the way you conjugate an AR verb. Okay, so here's your endings. O, es, e, hemos, en for an ER verb. And of course, for usted, always the same as he and she, is going to be a, just like he and she. And then ellos and ellas have ustedes. And again, always the same. Ustedes is just like ellos and ellas, same ending. Okay, now IR verbs are very, very similar with one little difference. The nosotros form in the ER verb is hemos, in a nosotros form is hemos. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So I've got a couple little examples here for you. Usted come en la clase. So I'm probably talking to a teacher. You eat in the classroom, pero los estudiantes comen, they eat en la cafetería. Here's another one. Juana vive en Ukiah. María y yo vivimos. It's an IR ending for nosotros. So María y yo vivimos en Willits. The only difference between ER verbs and IR verb conjugations is the nosotros form. That's basically it right there, okay? Let's move down to the last thing we have to look at, the verbs tener and venir. Tener means to have, venir means to come, ER verb, IR verb. But if you look at these conjugations of the verb tener, you can see right away that something's funny about it. First of all, the yo form is quite different. So this means I have, but it's an irregular one. What does irregular really mean to you as a student? You have to memorize it. You just have to know that the yo form of tener is tengo. Then notice this is the stem of the verb and it's changed. It's not just an E, it's an IE. And that's what happens with stem changing verbs. An awful lot of times, the yo form will stem change as well. But in this particular verb, it's an irregular verb. It's got an irregular yo form. You just have to memorize it. You also have to know these conjugations. You just have to know that it's IE, IE. The nosotros form never stem changes. Okay, so there's your basic conjugations right there. I give a couple of examples. Ustedes tienen un examen mañana. You have. We're using the you all form, the ustedes form. So there it is right there. You all have an exam tomorrow. Then another one. Roberta tiene un carro. She has a car. Pero yo no tengo un carro. She has a stem change. I do not, but I have an irregular yo form to remember about, okay? Notice that I said this already, but notice that the yo form and the nosotros forms never have a stem change in a stem changing verb, okay? We have one more verb to look at, and that is venir. It means to come, and it's very similar, as you can see, to the verb tener. Vengo, vienes, viene, venimos, and vienen. Here's our usted and ustedes forms. And again, you just have to memorize this. You just have to remember that the yo form of venir is vengo. It has an IE stem change. And then where are the stem changes? Well, everywhere but the yo form and the nosotros form. Here's a couple of examples for you. Yo vengo a tu casa a las 8:30. I'm coming to your house at 8:30. And here's a question. ¿Vienen ustedes a la fiesta? Are you all coming to the party? Sí, venimos, IR conjugation, no stem change, por la tarde. All right, folks, that is about it for our lesson. And if you have any questions, you can always email. I would really recommend going over this video a couple times and stopping it where you need to look at something twice. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed the little presentation, and I will see you another time. Bye-bye.